The rise of the green tide. Orks win their first GT. Whoa! This week on WAAAGHDAY Wednesdays. We'll discuss last weekend's successful Ork showing. We'll talk about some standout units and lists that reoccurred. We'll mention Stompas, kill rigs, the truck spam is back, Squigs go big, and did someone call for a dock? Let's get stuck in, lads. Whoa. First off, we're going to go into the good old stats. So last weekend for Orks, we had a 64% win rate last weekend. Clap. And as of the month of August, we are sitting at a 52% win rate as a whole, as a faction. That's fantastic, guys. We were rising and rising. We were sitting somewhere in the 40s, and then we just slowly, progressively got better. We learned our index. We didn't have crazy broken abilities, but it's okay. We figured it out with just great data sheets and movement. All right, but let's take a look at some of our more difficult matchups and how that's changed a bit, right? So custodians have now risen to a 40% win rate. So at one point, guys, we were sitting at what, a 20% win rate against custodes. So that has greatly improved. I think people just got used to the fact that they fight on all the objectives, and people realized, hey, I got to beat them to the punch. I got to get them where they are. If they don't have just straight up 15 plus guardians, people can maneuver it by taking out the terminators. Wardens aren't as good. There's not as many of them. So people kind of figured it out, and that's great. Not completely. It's still a very hard matchup, but considering we can win is great. Okay, another army that we've seen to be doing a little bit better than as against is GSC, sitting at a 52% win rate. Not necessarily a super difficult matchup, but when you get to the top tables, it is a super difficult matchup. So that's always something to be looked at. We have Imperial Knights. So Imperial Knights are still just grounding us to dust right now. I truly believe a part of that is terrain and player skill. The mission always will come into play as well. Still a hard matchup. Make sure you're playing on good terrain and not getting too impatient against those knights, right? We got Thousand Suns at a 36% win rate in them. A very difficult army. A lot of flamers, a lot of Overwatch, pretty decent melee to some extent. Magnus is extremely hard to kill reliably. And if you see a Mutalic Vortex Beast, I think can definitely light up your truck pretty efficiently. So not surprising there. We have World Eaters. So World Eaters were an army that at first we were just dusting. And then as they've also figured out their index, they're slowly kind of coming on par with us on how often they can win and perform against us. They do have some crazy melee capability. The issue for them is they just lack so many models. So if we start fighting in death against them, they have a hard time popping our trucks, and Angron isn't really great into us at all. He'll never get his return. So another honorable mention is the Astra Militarum. So the Astra Militarum, surprisingly, is sitting at a 49% win rate against us. I'm sure it's because when people aren't used to them on the casual level, they have a hard time with all the indirect, with the horses constantly coming back and being good at combat. Units that can just consistently regen, shoot us, almost meet us across the board on board control is another army that can give us a little bit of a hard time. But on the top tables, they don't really make it. So that's why they just get a little honorable mention. But that's enough for the stats. We can look at the best performing players as of last weekend. 24. Oh, and before we doing that, David reminded me we should discuss chats. So hello, who's in chat?
All right, we got Greg Gonzalez joining us for the first time, and he's excited to finally catching us live.
Fantastic. What's up, Greenskin? What's up, lad?
He also liked to mention that the Valiant is super tough with the new Overwatch rules.
Yeah.
And he's referring to the Conflagration Cannon, which is an 18-inch 3d6 strength 8 -1 2 damage flamer.
Okay, yeah.
And ignores cover.
Yeah, that's just tough enough to mess up some Squig riders when they start trying to run into combat with you. Orks as a whole, like any kind of decent, a little bit of AP is enough to take us off. So yeah, that's definitely something that could give us a problem on Overwatch. Good shout out there. All right, and just kind of fun chat. Let's move on to the best performing players of this last weekend. We're gonna start with the man, the winner, the GT placer, John Holbrook. So we actually discussed him one time prior 729. He actually ended up winning an RTT with a very similar list and not the same exact list. So he's been practicing. Also, this list became famous and Worlds at WTC as Team America brought the same exact list. So this is a list that was well thought out between at least 3 Art of War Team America players. So don't be surprised if they start making a come up all over again. So for this list, you guys, we'll just go right over quickly as we can. We got the Beast Boss on foot with Cunning But Brutal, another Beast Boss with Follow Me Lads, and 2 Weird Boys. That's something that I might have been added to the list. So continue here is Beast Snagga Boys. In this list, you're just going to go 3 straight unit of Beast Snagga Boys, followed by 6 unit of boys, right? And the reason for that, if you haven't seen this list yet, is because you are going heavy into the truck meta. So you hit 6 trucks on this list, followed by 3 big tracks. A big track is from the Armor Compendium, you guys. It is a slightly bigger, more durable truck that can still hold, still has firing deck, and does mortal wounds on the charge innately without using tank shock. Okay. And then you get a couple Gretchen, just so you have someone in your backfield. The mech gun. So the mech guns, this list actually did wake up mech guns for me a little bit when I seen it performing. Just for 45 points, the kind of damage you end up putting it to someone, even if it spikes 1 turn, you're getting your 45 points returned, right? And then 2 units, or is it 3 actually? I think it's 3. 3 units of Storm Boys. So Storm Boys, great for your secondaries, running around, filling up holes in your lines where you need them, pouring on advance and charge late game if you have to, steal objectives. That's what they do. So let's go straight into his very first matchup. Not gonna knock anyone's socks off, but it is the Tau Empire. This person decided he wanted to bring a little bit of flavor, which I understand. He has the Avin, which is just a basic character. He can fight a little bit. Shadow Sun, amazing. Command, Cold Star, battle suits, another Cold Star battle suit, and then another Commander and Cold Star battle suit. So that's one of the most prolific kind of Tau units for the most part, and what everyone's going to end up bringing, right? Crisis battle suits, you can see he went deep into this list. This is almost, what was that, 400-point unit for that one right there? Goodness. Then he went into it again with other crisis suits and another crisis suits. We know Tau as a whole are somewhere kind of not ideal in the meta. Therefore, he's going straight into what's good. We got some Crutox Rider. We get the Piranhas. Piranhas are great transports. So great right there. 3 going right there. And then the Stealth battle suits, right? And then the Turtrus. Sorry, I can't say their names right. Okay. I'd actually never seen those units before on this, so that was surprising to see up in there, right? Tau as a whole, they just have problem with holding the board. A unit army like this that you've seen with the big track, there's no way these crisis using those commanders are popping enough vehicles, holding enough board control, and not getting just crumped on, right? The 9 trucks will just take over every section of the board against this list. They have nothing to meet them in the middle of the table. And the points did reflect that, as he got a 99 against Tau, right? So we'll move on to the next list because it ends up being Tau again. So as you can see, it was a somewhat similar list, but he does have the Cadre Fireblade, just a little nice infantry commander. Again, we already know that the crisis battle suits, your flavor is what you're going to start helping with. This was something that kind of surprised me with the breaching team. Still, it was just a small kind of firing line unit. It's not really going to help too much into Orks unless you pop the transport, right? But if you have these broadside battle suits, I mean, even how when you're going to get line of sight onto all the trucks, you're not going to ever get the trucks are 50 points, the big tracks are 75 points. You have these 400-point units trying to pop maybe 2 if they kind of turn. It's just not going to happen. And it's not going to help them win the game, guys, because once the trucks get destroyed, they just start disembarking, moving around, trying to move block where they can. The basic infantry, it's just overwhelming for an army that literally wants to sit back and just shoot you. Even if the army wants to run around like this Tau army wants to, try to take angles on you and stay away from your melee, there's way too many transports, way too much speed in the army. And these Tau armies just have a very hard time against Ork pressure armies, right? And that's exactly what this truck spam is. We got more crisis suits and other crude hounds, just so you can have a couple, objective monkeys, stuff to go run into the table to be sacrificed, more piranhas for the transportation and gun platform up capability. And then a smaller unit of battle suits, which they're getting crumped on. That small unit one, you're just going to punch those out with just mass volume of punches. The Beast Boys are going to mess those up as well. So Tau as a whole, guys, we know they're not great in the meta, so we're going to move on to the more spicy list matchups. He ran through the first 2 with a 98 score on the second Tau player. Now we get into a bit of the meta. So right off the bat, after going against 2 Tau players, luckily he was warmed up, went straight into a meta 1,000 Suns player. All right. So we got Arlman, the Exalted Sorcerer on disc, the Exalted Sorcerer on disc again. Infernal Master, Magnus the Red, Thousand Sun Sorcerer, Thousand Sun Sorcerer, Thousand Sun Sorcerers. I believe those sorcerers all go with the Rubric Brain units, right? And a lot of people are starting to come down to bring them 95-point units instead of the big bricks, because you just get more bodies all over the place, constantly putting the Overwatch angles, constantly putting on the small arms fire, and then just straight up more and more Rubrics. This is what's more common as well in the meta, guys. People are slightly moving away from the bricks and just going, how many of these Rubric units can I bring? Right? And I've seen 4, but this one brought 6. Then we got the Mutilex Vortex Beast. I love this. Not to play against it, but as a unit, it's a great unit for just a gun platform. You got the Zangors for running around, taking over some objective, and then the Changeling. So this person didn't bring Terminators. He just said, straight up Rubric Marines, take over the table, Magnus hard carry me, Mutilex Vortex Beast, start shooting up anything that's too tough for me, right? Is there anything interesting you see on this list that made you caught you off guard, David? I know you're a little into T-Suns sometimes.
No, just like you mentioned, there's people are starting to run the 5-man rubrics. I think that's because with the 10-man rubrics, you're investing a lot of points in one unit, and eventually you can't play the mission if that unit does get taken care of.
Very true.
Just trying to spread out a little bit and play the mission for 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense considering a lot of people are going into death blobs, and hey, a unit of T4 Marines is just not withstanding some of this. So this was a meta list, very common to play against, but still, guys, because there's not enough anti-tank firepower on this kind of list, you didn't have even Terminators for fighting, there was very little to no melee into this list. He ended up still putting up a 98-point win to this army. So very good. We actually seen this list go into, you can actually see it on War Games Live, where this same list went into a similar T-Suns list, and it had a very great game. So the fact that he pulled out a 98-point win is very impressive. Now we go to his 4th matchup, which ended up being the Dark Angels. So we got Captain on Bike, Bolter Discipline, of course, another Captain on Bike, Centurion Devastator Squad. That did catch me a little off guard, guys, but I know people are starting to bring them for the toughness, for the great weapons. Overall, I can see them starting to make their way into the game. Not on every list, not on every faction of Submarine. I mean, a Space Marine. But I'm somewhat excited to see them, right? Deathwing Knights. So their version of Terminators, if you guys aren't aware. More Deathwing Knights, Terminators. Devastator Squad. Inceptor Squad, right? You see that's only a small man unit, Devastator Squad, guys, right? Notice that, right? No more of these big, giant investments, because he just said, I'm going to bring more Terminators. So we got the Raven Blackwing Knights. We got the Ravenwing Black Knights. And these are actually biker guys, but I'm just saying in general, they want to bring from the other units they brought. Then you have the Scout Squads. I just think they're very good for cheap units, holding your back line and maybe going up and sacrificing. And then you have the Exaction Squads. This list was a bit surprising, guys. He did mix what the Dark Angels kind of good at. He brought bikes. He brought Terminators. He didn't bring Lionel Johnson. I think that's a correct choice. He didn't go crazy invested in his large unit of Devastators. He can take up the middle board with his Terminators. He can ride around the flanks with his biker units and get down and put pressure with Inceptors. So this guy is an actual pressure list as well, right? So the fact that he had a good game into this is very impressive. I believe it's because you can't pop the trucks with his list, right? You looked at his list, you're not popping them. The trucks are going to come into you. They're going to tank shock. The boys are going to throw grenades into you. The big tracks are going to put mortals into you when they charge you themselves. It's just an innate data sheet ability. And then you still have all the fighting. You have the dev wounds coming from the beast boss, possibly. So as a whole, you kill the bikes, you'll kill what you have to kill that are trying to pressure you, and you put mortal wounds into the Terminators as you can. So he still ended up dusting that army with a 98-point win. You're doing all the secondaries with this many trucks, guys. All the secondaries. And then, last but certainly not least, a meta Eldar list. Because did you even win a GT if you didn't crump some Eldar? If you didn't scrum some scrawnies? So, right off the bat, guys, we got the Yinkarn. The Yinkarn's very, very annoying. She'll just pop up right after someone dies, start putting pressure into the battlefield somewhere else. She's tough. She's not even that expensive. Okay, we got the Artark Wayleaper. Death Jester. 2 Farseers. So not that crazy on investment on characters, but good enough. 2 units of War Spiders, 1 unit is Rangers. 2 is the minimum for War Spider, guys. 2 units of Wind Riders. You can see this looking very, very meta. 1 Wraith Knight. That's fine. Then 2 Fire Prisms. So he brought just about everything. You see, he went in nets of 2 instead of 3. You're kind of seeing this on the Eldar list where they're not going 3 fire prisms, 3 this, 3 this. He switched it up a little bit. Usually that's to fit the Yen Karn and to still have enough stuff to play the mission. With this list, again, what is the Wraith Knight getting his points return on when he's fighting 9 battle line units, 9 transports, and some Gretchen, right? What is he getting his return on? How much of the board is he really taking over? Well, I'll tell you what. He might be able to pop 1, maybe even 2 trucks, I guess. He could pop 1 truck, maybe 2 trucks. There's still 7 more. Fire prisms are not technically always going to get all the angles they can get. And you still have to deal with all the boys, guys. All the mass infantry, all the OC. He doesn't have anything to punch him off the objective. Those bikes are getting picked up and dusted. He has 1 unit of rangers. The warp spiders are not scary to the orcs as well. As a whole, guys, we do well into Eldar if you bring a powerful meta list. I don't see the Squig units doing as good, but truck spam lists, just rush up on Eldar, take over the board. Don't let it's too much control rate of attrition because they're essentially trying to play one phase of the game. Most of them are just trying to shoot you, but they're trying to shoot you at the optimal efficiency. Well, that's fine. You're not going to have all line of sight to shoot your whole army into everything you want to shoot. And what you're popping is never going to give you a return for those expensive gunline units, and you're going to lose out on the mission, which is exactly what happened because he put up 94 points against this Eldar list. 94 against a very, very common, typical meta Eldar list. So great job to John Holbrook. Like I said, we did notice him in 729. He did win an RTT as well. So he did great. Everybody give a shout out, give a wall to the War Boss for giving us our first GT win. I know some people are like, hey, that's not the most exciting list. I understand that, guys. But we got to see what's winning and doing the best. Now, we can go straight to the PopCon, what I consider the number 2 best performing list. And this is on the opposite side of the spectrum, guys. We'll take a look at this list. He's actually running the Squigs. So this is actually the opposite of what we just looked at, right? What we just looked at is, hey, what if I run all the trucks? His list is, hey, what if I run 18 Squig Hog Boys and just get in your face? The one thing that's different here, guys, is right off the bat, Mad Doc Grotznick, right? Ha. All I got to say is if you've been here since my tier list videos, we argued about how he's an ugly model. He definitely is, but he's definitely playable like I was assuming. He has a built-in enhancement, essentially, because he allows his unit to fall back and charge innately. He doesn't bring guys back. He doesn't have precision like a normal pain boy. Still gives the feel no pain, but gives the innate enhancement of fallback and charge because he just has it on his data sheet. So I'm very excited to see him because I have not yet to see him at all. But we'll continue. We have a Beast Boss, Cunning but Brutal, ability to fall back. Knobs on Smash Squig, Knob on Smash Squig, Knob on Head Wampus Kill Chopper, and a War Boss with no enhancements. That's how I like to see him. 1 unit of Beast Negas for the Beast Boss, of course. Now, this is what's surprising. 1 unit of thick Burner Boys. So Burner Boys, I can see exactly why he brought this. If you're going to bring Knobs and Squigs, people are going to screen you with whatever little bit of chaff they have. And you need something that can run up there, still being safe in the truck, flame some of it out of there, get it out of my way, and then possibly, if you really need to, later in the game, get some -2 AP punches in there, right? And no one's ever going to be sad to shoot some custom Mega Blasters at people. 1 unit of Gretchen, because you got to have your Gretchen. 1 unit of Knobs, what I call a scalpel unit. Run in there and take out your problematic high armor units. Then you got multiple Storm Boy units, obviously great for scoring. People go to 3 on this. If you're really going into skew, guys, you do go into 3. I know I've said 2 is my preference. It's because I don't play skew lists yet. So 2 is good enough usually. But if you're going into a skew, you might need 3. Okay. And then just straight off the rip, boom. 18 Squig Hog Boys. Shout out to Big Mac Brandon. I know you're out there and Joe looking at this going, yes, I've made it. And then 2 trucks at the end. Boom. Or 3, excuse me. Sorry, miscounted. 3 trucks at the end. So mind you guys, 3 trucks, bunch of Squig Hog Boys. You got the Burner Boys in one, the Beast Snagger Boys in another, Noms in another. So that's your list in your head as we move forward, right? Going into his first matchup, he actually had a mirror matchup as in 2 Orks. Very nice. So we'll look at his list, and then we'll talk about how we assume he most likely won this and why it wasn't ideal for this person who ended up losing. So Beast Boss on foot again, Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Beast Boss on Squigosaur, and Nosrog. So I know some people are out there like, I like to run a lot of Beast Bosses. I'm not into that, and I'll go into why. I know some people are. And then Knob on Smasher Squig with Follow Me Lads. That a little surprising, but hey, it's fine. Cunning but Brutal Weird Boy. I like the Weird Boy tech in there, of course. You know, secondaries. 1 unit of Beast Snaggle Boys, another unit of Beast Snaggle Boys for the Beast Bosses. Then he kept it not as spammy with trucks, but he still has a good amount of trucks. He brought us knobs for a Scalpel unit, more Squig-based Boys, but only one big unit of Squig-based Boys, and then 3 units of Storm Boys. Okay. Right off the bat, remember how we talked about the other army has 18 Squig-based Boys, still has 3 trucks, right? And what does that mean? Well, the Squig-based Boys are doing moderately well into their adjacent counterpart as a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, right? Because think about that, guys. You're gonna have Squigs or Beast Boss on Squigosaur? This is where I start to have the deliberate thoughts in my head, right? A Beast Boss on Squigosaur is getting mopped and annoyed and ran over, losing an OC in many ways to a Squig-based Boy unit, just right off the rip, guys. And as a whole, in my opinion, the Beast Boss on Squigosaur doesn't have an optimal profile to killing just about anything, in my opinion, right? If you get him head wop as Kill Choppa, yeah, he can start crumping on some vehicles. But as a whole, doesn't have good AP really. His strength of attack isn't nothing to really write home about. Even his mount's not even that impressive. So I'm not in favor of trading out a bunch of Beast Bosses on mounts for Squigs, right? Which is what this list ended up doing. And I think that's really what threw him over the side, right? Because the other player still had almost as many trucks, still the ability to scalpel him out with the knobs. Yet, how was he going to deal with 18 Squigs when he only brought 6 of his own? And the Beast Bosses on Squigosaur are essentially what's going to go into them, as your Beast Bosses on Squigosaur are going to walk up, usually be a distraction unit, usually try to take one flank of the board. They're going to face off against Sergeant Knob and the Beast Squags. No, it's just not going to happen. And that's what happened. He ended up getting crumped on. He put up a Joel Rami ended up putting up a 100 points against his counterpart. No shame on you, Daniel. That was still a cool list. I can see why you took that list. I know other channels have advised bringing a lot of Beast Bosses on mounts. I'm against that, but that's okay. We all play different metas, so that's why we all think that way. Different, you know? And then Ultramarines. So shout out to Frank. Always I got an Ultramarine, right? So we got Librarian and Phobos armor. Primaris Apothecary with Bolter Discipline. Rebute Gilliman. Then again, we see some more Centurions. Hey, shout out to Centurions. You can see they actually have the siege drills and the flamers though. So that's actually a pretty fighty unit, right? Desolation. Here we go. Brought back that big unit. If you're playing Ultramarines, you kind of want to, right? You can ult twice when you have Gilliman. Big unit of Eradicators. I'm not always in love with that. I can see why he brought them. A lot of people are scared of the me vehicles in this list, but too big of a unit for me. Inceptors. Inceptors are so annoying coming within 3 inches, guys, right? And they have the Plasma, right? David, do you prefer the Plasma or the Twin Bolter? Because I see you've been kind of looking at them for a little bit.
I do appreciate the extra AP and strength from the Plasma, but when you're running 3-man units, losing one guy is enough to really lower the efficiency of that unit and make it easier for the clapback for your opponent to not to have to invest in much in wiping them out. So yeah. I prefer the bolters.
Yeah, I think so too. But hey, it looks like this guy was really going into anti-tank or something because he really just brought Eradicators and everything. So he knew this guy was coming and he wanted to shoot him. No, I'm just kidding. And then we got the Infiltrators and then the Repulsor. Weren't you just talking about this today?
Yes, I was actually looking at the Repulsor because of its unique rule.
Pay attention to this Orks players. Pay attention to this Orc players.
Yeah, if your opponent has a unit within 3 inches of the Repulsor and you declare a charge on that unit, it can embark in that Repulsor. And if the Repulsor's out of charge range, then you just lose out on your charge. Or if whatever you're charging with isn't capable of fighting a vehicle, you're just going to get stuck in combat for a few turns.
Yeah. So that would, he was just talking about me he was talking about it to me today. It's like emergency embarkment or something is the ability if you want to read it yourself. But yeah, that is a sneaky little tech piece, right?
A little cheeky.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. But as a whole, this list, you can see it does have the firepower, but where's its melee potential to get you off them? You're running them with all these thick Squig-based boys. You're hoping that they're exposed long enough for you to just annihilate them, which in some cases you might, but you're going to lose out on the mission. You're not going to meet them in the middle of the table. And then if those vehicles try to get close and cut angles, you're going to start popping them. It's just not enough. He has a lot of gun lining there, and Rebute Gilman can't fight off all those units. So, and mind you, still have the trucks you got to pop too, guys. And if you don't, the knobs get to come out. The Beast Boss on foot gets to come out and start crumping, right? and then we'll go over these 3 more guys, and then we'll look at the chat what has to say, because I know some of you guys are going to say something very intelligent to me, and it's going to be entertaining because I like these lists of this week. So this was his 3rd matchup, I believe.
Yes.
Right? Yes, 3rd matchup. He has the dreaded Golden Boys. So he has the Shield Captain in the Alaris Terminator armor with Ceaseless Hunter, 1 unit of Guardians, 2 units of Prosecutors. That's it. Not a bunch of Guardians, right? We just went over this. If you're not running a ton of Guardians, Orks can play you. So we got the Alaris Terminators, just a 5-man unit with spears, a Gladius Grav Tank, and then an Orion Assault Dropship. That's exactly what it sounds like, guys. It's a big old Forge World model. It is 700 points, 690, 700 points. It's huge. It's like, I don't know what to compare it to be honest. I've seen it in person. We'll say it's at least the length of a football sideways. For you that are not American, still, it's literally about the size of the soccer ball. You can put a soccer ball probably on top of it. It's pretty big. And then you have the Caladius Assassin. Very annoying. Very annoying. And then the only one? Is it one of these? Yeah. He only brought one of the units of the Arbites, and then he brought Voidsmen and ours. So he brought back the Voidsmen and ours, guys, right? Everybody's like, that's so last edition. Yeah, well, they're back. So this Custode player was doing well, but that's because Custode players themselves get to do well because of their abilities. And this guy was like, I'm not bringing all the Guardians. I'm bringing the dropship. So not going to get too deep into this. You can assume why he lost. He didn't bring the meta Custodes list. He doesn't have enough board control on the ground. He doesn't have anything to really play the mission. That plane can fly around. It's not really going to get a points return for 700 unless it's just straight up annihilating Squig boys, and it doesn't have a voluminous of firepower. It has really strong firepower, but it's not voluminous. Okay? And he ended up putting a 100 score against his Custodes list. 100. And that's because the plane is 700 points and it can't really play the mission that well, right? It's okay. I played against the 2 once, like last edition. It was hilarious. Then we have our 4th matchup. So this 4th matchup, we're actually going to discuss because this player is another person I wanted to give a shout out to. So I'm glad that he's actually here in the matchup because we get to talk about them both. Because this is another player I wanted you guys to see. And it's funny because Joel, the person we're talking about right now, got 2nd place in the tournament. And John Ottoman, which is this person, got 3rd. Okay, so the Ork players are right back with each other, guys. Okay, so again, Mad Doc Rotsnick again. So these guys are friends or what? I don't know what they did, but they both decided they're going to bring Mad Doc Rotsnick. I don't know if they brought the real one because he's hideous. But yeah, okay. And then we have Domek and a Nabon Smash Squig with Ed Wappus with Kill Choppa. That's where I'm at too. You guys can disagree with me. It's fine. 2 units of Beast Snaggers on foot. 1 big unit of boys. I wonder where they're going. 2 Gretchen. 2 Storm Boys. 3 Storm Boys. 1 big unit of Squig boys. Glad that's still on the list. And then the Stompa. Followed by 2 trucks. Shout out to the trucks. Still have to have them on the list. This list, you could, if someone showed you this list, guys, be honest with yourselves and said, I'm going to bring this to a GT. Would you laugh? Would you scoff? Would you pat him on the back for being an awesome war boss? Yes. Possibly all of those things. But what you wouldn't do is assume they're getting 3rd place at the GT, right? That's what you're not going to assume with the Stompas, especially if you're used to the old editions. But this list ended up doing excellent as a whole. We'll give it a little shout out later, give it a look over. But going into Joel's list, he has all the potential to crump that Stompa to oblivion. Okay? And the Stompa can overwatch all he wants. The Feel No Pains are going to mess him up. The amount of trucks there are going to mess him up. The Knobs can still fight him and deal with other units. So as a whole, it's just, like I said, honestly, Knobs into Squig boys, a 6-man unit of Squig boys with exploding 5s, even with the Squigs being -1 to wound, you're still going to put enough wounds on to pick up most of that unit, and their profiles aren't amazing into Knobs all the time. Okay, so that's because if they don't have lancing ability, they're strength 5, make a -1 to wound with the war boss there. You're wounding Knobs on 5s with the actual mounts if they haven't charged. I meant like the guy on top. He only has strength 5, little stabber. So yeah, it was still a great list, but he ended up just dusting him, getting 100 points on the Stompa list. You can imagine why if you're bringing 18 Squigs. You're running over that Stompa. You're not scared of it, and you still have all the trucks as well. So let's go over to the final list that he had to go into. And of course, like I said before, they just show up to a GT if you didn't fight an Eldar. So we got the Artark Way Leaper, the Death Jester, Farseer, Skyrunner, and the Yin Karn. So a bit different characters than we've seen on the prior Eldar list, but still got the Yin Karn up in here, right? 2 Fire Prisms, 1 Night Spinner. Okay, so more shooting with the Shuriken Cannons. The Shuriken Cannons, great guys. The more you can get on your list as an Eldar player, the more you're demolishing, and that's a problem for Orks. Shadow Specters, Warwalkers. Warwalkers shoot all right too, guys. Of course, you got only 1 unit of Warp Spiders. You know, I guess he didn't care about scoring as much because he was just going to shoot you off the table. And then, of course, the obligatory Wraith Knight. So this is another meta list, a little bit different tooling, actually. I do like that he ended up bringing a Warwalker. He brought more Night Lances, but he didn't. And into the Orc player did end up losing to this Eldar player. Like I said, guys, prior, and this isn't because I just looked at this. Whenever we go over all the stats every Wednesday, it seems like the Squig list have a bit harder time into Eldar, and that's because you are playing the game at a slower pace. You're trying to stage and get behind buildings. Sometimes you're going to try to tank that shooting because you have no other options, and then they actually have the firepower to reliably destroy you. And then when you go to the truck spam list, they have the ability to take over the board, get their chassis popped. The boys are still around. The boys can essentially still fight and beat up all of the small chaff units. They can still get up the field faster. The rest of the trucks are still scoring secondaries while they're being annihilated. So as a whole, the truck spam does better into Eldar. The Squigs do better into most other people, but still lose to Eldar. Not always, but the vast majority. So shout out to Joel Ramnul. I thought that was a really good showing. He ended up only putting up 49 points against the Eldar. But like I said, he got 100 points turn game 1, 90 points game 2, 100 points game 3, 100 points game 4. Come on, guys. That's amazing. And I know if you're out there running 18 Squigs, you really like to see that because you like to see that you can still put hundreds on the table, right? That's what you really want to do. You still want to put 100-point games on the table, still score really well, even if you end up losing as a whole, right? We can quickly go over the – oh, and sorry, we're going to look at the chat, guys. I want to look at the chat. Almost got burnt here.
All right, we got Artemis Steve joining us.
Oh, there you are, Artemis.
The classic here for the wall.
For the wall.
Greg Gonzalez says, I'm trying to make my Orks perform like the old days. Mazrog, 2 Squig bosses, 3 Squig knobs, 3 Beast Snagga boys, 3 trucks, 3 6-man Squig boys, and a Gretchen unit. Hits super hard sometimes.
Sometimes. You know what? Because you said of old, I have a question for you. Do you like kill rigs? Because I might surprise you later. All right, what else you got?
Jared Brown, you boys are war bosses in my book. Thanks for always sharing and helping this poor knob level up.
What? The knob is going to become a war boss soon because that's how we roll. Because the rise of the green tide rises all green skins. All green skins are rising, and we're here for it.
Greg says, T-Suns are tough, but the mass Fiona Pains in my list helps.
Yes, for sure. The Fiona Pains messes them up. You being tougher than their Flamers messes them up. As a whole, T-Suns can be handled. They can be beaten, but they do require to be a good player and make the right choices. Because if you decide I'm going to run into Magnus, Magnus will happily run into you.
And Big Mac Brandon.
Oh, the Brandon.
Grosnick with the Burner Boys for sure.
Yeah, you like that, Brandon? That's funny, right?
Says, fall back, burn them, and charge.
So, yeah, I'm glad you liked him and everything. I'm glad you're here, Brandon, because I know you definitely are thinking about running Squigs at Nova. Shout out to Brandon. I think you're running all 18 Squigs, right?
And Fat Man, what's up, everyone?
Whoa! So, Fat Man, I see you in the Discord chatting it up, sharing your hobby and your list, and I really appreciate all you guys in Discord, keeping it active, keeping it alive, keeping me in conversation. Like I said, we actually got the computer. We're going to do an upgrade and be back into showing all the hobby stuff, so don't fret.
And then Greg adds in that, yes, Eldar are straight snitches.
Yes. Eldar are scrawnies. That's what we call them, guys. The scrawnies. We'll have the day in the sun for now, but if you knew of them in 8th edition, they were garbage. So haha. And 9th edition somewhat too, right?
And Greg also adds, all right, the kill rig, I have 3 of them.
Well, then you should stick around because I'm gonna show you what kill rigs can do. Whoa!
Brandon says, yes, sir. 18 pigs
18
for the
pigs
win.
for the win. You just seen that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You'll see that, man. I'm sure you can do it too, especially if you get some practice in Eldar, really put some thought into them, because you see across the board, you're able to deal with just about every other faction. Eldar, just because they're one of the few units that are like, what? You got to feel no pain? I'll just put 6 damage into you. There you go. And you got to feel no pain? I'll just put some more damage into you. Oh, you're -1 to wound? I'll just re-roll that. So I can understand why it's hard.
And Brandon also says the hundreds got me hyped.
Yeah, and that's why we do this, guys, because some people are like, man, I want to run a Stompa. I want to do this. I want to do that. Let's look at what other guys have been doing and how they've been doing. Bring it all together. Of course, metas are different. Players are different, but it gives you a good idea if you're right on the right track, right? So from there, we'll go into, like we said, John Ottoman. The reason why I want to go into him, even though we've seen that he just lost, is because he, as well, went 4-1. That's how he ended up late game fighting Joel Rommel, the second to last game of the day, because he was crumping. He was putting up high scores as well. And his only list was to Joel Rommel. So let's look at his list real quick, because I know you guys liked it real quick. We already seen it. We got the Mad Doc. We got the mech. We got the 1 unit of squigs that are with that knob. 2 unit of beasts and snaggle boys. 1 unit of boys, a big one, just to get stuck right in there on that Stompa with Mad Doc. Then you got Gretchen and 3 units of Storm Boys with 2 trucks for the Beast Snaggle Boys. Okay. Guys, Stompa has been doing it. That's what I just want to say. If you're just a casual player, but you want to get some RTT games in, you want to get a couple games in on a weekend, don't want to think too hard and try too hard, bring the Stompa. You will have fun. If you do not think too hard, you'll probably lose because it still requires some finesse. But you can have a great game. You'll have fun overwatching everybody, and you still have potential to win, because we've seen the Stompa perform several times at the GT level, whether it's incorporated with the Gargantuan Squig-off or by itself. Okay, let's look at his matchups. So, right off the bat, again, Tau is just getting crumped on. I don't know what's going on in this place where they're like, we just want Tau to appear, but Tau got beat up on the whole time. The one thing different was Shadow Sun. Shadow Sun's still good. He's a bit faster and more shooty, but he's not necessarily durable, and he's still pretty easy to kill. We got the Cold Star Commanders doing their thing with the Ion Blasters with volume, and then the Fireside team. Sorry, I read that wrong. Followed by, here you actually see he brought some Battle Line guys, right? The Battle Line is nice because he's trying to put some small arms fire. You get the support guns in there. And then you have the Devilfish, which are the actual transports that they have. I called the Piranhas the transports earlier. They're the firing transports, but I meant the Devilfish. I was being a dork. The Devilfish are proper transports. They're actually pretty good for Tau as a whole. Ours are the best, but theirs are still pretty dang good. We have the Crisis Suits. Like we said earlier, you're going to run these Biz Crisis Suits as a Tau player, and you're just not going to get your return into Orks as a whole. And if you are, you're going to have to hope that you can actually crump that Stompa. Right? So we'll keep going. We got the Ghost Keel Battle Suit. So you can see he did bring firepower, guys. This is the Tau player as a whole, through multiple editions, would look at the Stompa list, would look at the Orks and say, I'm going to annihilate you. There's no way you're going to stand in front of my gun line this long. There's no way you're going to win this. But Stompa being T4, getting cover, having a 2-up armor save, it messes up all the math, guys. Then they got some Vespid for their flying scoring units, right? Instead of bringing a bunch of Kroots, these guys just brought Battle Line, Transports, and the Vespid. But as you see, the core of these tile lists are going to be their battle suits with some kind of commanders. They're not very meta, but it's okay. You got to see how the Stompa does into a straight gun line, and they got walked over. John Otto ended up putting 94 points into into this tile list. So sorry, Blue Gits, you fishy boys, you guys got crumped. All right, then we got the second matchup, which is what I like to see, the Tyranids. So we got the Swarm Lord. Swarm Lord, of course, is giving the synapse range and bonuses. He's fine. The Brood Lord. So the Brood Lord's a sleeper unit. Okay, we'll talk about that. The Hive Tyrant. So you have the Brood Lord, the Hive Tyrant, and the Swarm Lord. With these combo of one giving you free C and one free CP and one giving you a free strap, both to giving you in the synapse range, you are constantly, as a Tyranid player, having a 5-up feel no pain. If you're going into a Tyranid player, know that 2 different units are always going to have a 5-up feel no pain. So then you have, and I'll talk about the Brood Lord in a second. Then you got the Termagants. Then you got Barbie Gaunts, the slowing down movement. Biovores for free scoring. Now here, the Gene Stealers. If you haven't gone into Gene Stealers and Tyranids as a whole, guys, do be aware of the Brood Lord and the Gene Stealers. I was not when I first, it was like, I think my first game of the edition, actually. And I was like, sure, dude, Beast Boss is going to stand right here, and you guys are going to try to kill him. They get lethal. They get they get devastating wounds. They get to reroll hits and wounds when they're with the Broodlord, and they get -1 to hit from the Broodlord, and they have a obnoxious volume of attacks. So they took down the Beast Boss and Squigosaur in one combat phase, like no problem. They just put too much wounds into him with this Fiano Pain and everything. I'm not saying that's always going to happen, but you do have to be aware that you think, oh, those are just little Gene Stealers. What are they going to do to my T10 model with the Fiano Pain? They're going to reroll everything into you. Okay, that's what they're going to do. So we continue with the Zoanthropes. Of course, the Zoanthropes are just las cannons pretty much. And then 3 Exocrines. Exocrines are nice for the 3 damage. The strength isn't there, though. And then you have the Harlspecs. Harlspecs is just great melee, great scoring, great points return. What you don't see on this list, and I'm glad, and I'm sure he was too, is a Maliceptor. Maliceptor's annoying. But what is this list doing to a Stompa? Getting crumped. That's what. The Stompa guns are annihilating those Tyranid monsters. Great damage. And when the Stompa gets into combat, just 20. 20. 9 damage with a punch. 20 boys disembark, take over the middle objective, get the OC, crump out the Tyranids, Gene Stealers if you have to. Great job. He ended up putting up 95 points into the Tyranids. Okay. Then we have, again, Thousand Suns. Did you show up to a GT and not play Thousand Suns? Probably not. So you got Arlman, Exalted Sorcerer on Disc, Magnus, another Sorcerer. I'm gonna close my eyes and just read these lists because I know them. No, I'm just kidding. And then Thousand Suns and Terminator Armor. That's Sorcerer and Terminator. That was a little different. We got now back to the one big unit of Rubric Marines. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and only 3. It was only 3. 3 units of 5-man units. You can see, guys, the other guy went for 6, and then now bricks. That has a brick. You still have the Mutalisk Vortex Beast. Great shooting profile. And then he ended up going into the Scarab Occult Terminators. Okay, he ended up taking into him. But look at that, 410 points, guys. You know what does really good into Terminators? The Stompa. And then you have the Zangor Enlightened. Just you need the small 2 units of Zangor Enlightened. So I do think the downfall of this list was the T-Sun Terminators are doing nothing to the Stompa. And they're getting annihilated by the Stompa, getting their Knights points returned from him. Still, the Stompa is going to just be durable and such. And Magnus doesn't necessarily want to get into a fight with him, right? Because even though he's reducing damage and he's doing all these things, 9 damage is just too much, too high of a strength. So that they still have to play somewhat cagey, and they can't just straight up pop the Stompa. So he gets to walk up, use his OC, use the boys' OC, and just keep playing the game. Plus, remember, you still have the big unit of Squig-Hog boys running around, winning skirmishes, when your Stompa is the main focus, those Squig-Hog boys just look like a gnat on the battlefield, right? So that ended up doing great as well. He ended up putting 93 points up against the T-Suns. Of course, we just talked about this. We don't have to click it again. Oh, we guess we did. It's fine. Joel Ramos, the guy who got 2nd place with the 18 Squig-Hog boys, he played into John Otto's. Well, what happened here? Squig-Hog boys, Crump, Stompas. They deal with other Orks, small, punches from 20 boys. They can fight the other Squig-Hog boy unit. They can play the mission. Still have enough trucks to do that. So overall, this boy was just a more well-rounded Ork list. The peak of an Ork meta list. With that being said, they were 1 point. They were 1 placing difference. So Stompa is still pretty excellent, right? John only put up 38 points against Joel. That's okay. I can see why he got annihilated by Joel's list, but it was, whatever. He brought a Stompa to a GT, guys. Come on now. And then his final matchup, guys, is into Daniel. So Daniel is the same guy that Joel played as well. So these guys are just going back and forth, just beating each other up. This was just a green skin on a green skin matchup. This guy is the one who brought multiple beast bosses. He brought the mounts as well. As I said, and I know I sound a little jerkish, but I'm just not sold on running a bunch of mounts. I'm pretty much sticking to Mazrog. If he does spike on damage, he does it great into monsters. He has baseline great damage. He has a 4-up info that makes a difference. To me, having just multiple mounts, beast boss on mounts is not my cup of tea unless you're possibly running 18 Squig-Hog boys. But then at that point, I would probably run Knobs on Smash Squigs and other units. So that's just me. I don't think they have offensively enough of a profile to deal with really anything, which is why the Stompa just walk them as well. Because you only have 1 unit of Squig-Hog boys on this list. The Knobs aren't doing anything to the Stompa, really, nothing reliable. So great job by him. John Ottoman got 3rd place at a GT with the straight up Stompa and some Squigs. Oh, come on, guys. I know y'all excited about that. Oh, now, what the moment that some of you have been waiting for. The flavor list of the week. So, oh, sorry, we talk about chats first before I go into the flavor list of the week, right? Yeah. The final list we'll do quickly, guys. We'll just look at the list. We don't have to go over everything as a whole, but we'll do chat real quick, and then we'll go over my pick for the flavor list of the week. He's under the big sky open. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, guys, I was excited about
question. Do y'all take fixed or tactical?
So I don't play a skew army, so I play tactical. But people that know they're playing like a skew bunch of trucks, they will bring the fixed secondary sometimes. So that's how I play. But remember, guys, it's your list and your meta that will determine the exact units you favor and the method of scoring. But picking fixed is definitely a way to win.
Yeah, I just played a game this past Sunday, and my opponent did take fixed, and he scored very well. I'd say if you make your list towards that, you can do just fine. Just keep in mind that you can't score as many points per turn because every secondary kind of limits you by like 1 or 2 points.
Yeah. So in your casual games, that's fine. But if you're trying to go place in events, you do want to get a higher score so you can get higher, even if you drop a game.
And wop. Tactical. I've been running casual games with a mate.
Yeah. Whoa. That's how we do it, guys. You don't always have to be the hardcore player. Sometimes you just got to have fun.
Michael Lee says Holbrook killed it.
Yes, he did, and he was practicing, guys, because we seen him over a month ago winning at RTT. So this was not off the cuff. He didn't just copy a list and go in there. He's been practicing with a list that he was aware of.
And he also says, "Wow, legends, much love from Australia."
Whoa! Speaking of legends, I'm doing the homework to do a legends video. Yes.
And then Artemis Steve with another. Wow.
You guys just want me to wall all night? Because I'm just going to make that a soundbite and just put it as a YouTube, upload that. You guys just hear me wall all the time. Because you guys keep pumping me up.
The Sav Master. Wow. I've been a sneaky commando and was lurking while basing some models.
Ah, there you are. I was wondering you've been hiding a sneaky git. You didn't go purple, though. So, I might have found you if my eyes weren't so messed up. Right? That's why I'm wearing glasses. So, that being said, we'll go into my flavor pick of the week, which is Adam Wilmoth. So as you can see on the screen right now, he's actually 5th, guys. So I did look for other fun lists as a whole. I did find like an RTT list. I could probably throw it up on Discord if you guys want. But come on, this guy went to GT and he brought what I wanted to see, which was the kill rigs. So where here we have the Beast Balls on Squigosaur. If you're going to put Head Wop with Kill Chop on him, then he does become reliable to killing stuff. I just meant if you're bringing several and multiple, and I prefer the Knob-on Smasher Squig to have it as well. So that's my preference. Everybody's a little different, but keep that in mind. That's the context of what I meant in the conversation. So Mazrog, Knob-on Smasher Squig, followed by another Knob-on Smasher Squig. 2 units of a Beast Snagaboys. 1 unit of Gretchen, followed by 2 kill rigs. Let's go. Come on, guys. I've been waiting for that. I love my kill rig. I know a lot of people love their kill rig. They've been getting talked down on because they're 220. In the tier list video, I put them higher because they're just a multi-purpose model, right? They're buffing you. They're shooting for you. They're transporting for you. And they're fighting on their own. And they can do tank shock. Dude, come on. They're fighting it. They're in all phases of the game. Literally. They're moving for you. They're transporting for you. They're shooting. They're doing everything. So, of course, it takes high skill level and hopefully not to get crumped on, but still, that just showing you. Great job. Then we have 2 units of commandos. What? See what I mean? No snick round on the list. So commandos on their own, guys. Taking that mid-table. Came out to be very good as a whole. That's why I picked this list for the flavor of the week, followed by 2 units of Squig Hard Boys. Then just 1 Storm Boy. Some of my lists have 1 Storm Boy unit. I don't love it, but you can make it work. Now, that's why I picked this list as the flavor of the week, guys. He brought the Squigs as the only characters he brought. Every character he has is on a Squig riding around the battlefield. Then he decided my vehicles need to also be Squigs on the battlefield. So he brought kill rigs. then 2 units of commando as his infantry that's just holding in the middle of the table, maybe scoring early, maybe getting in a little skirmishes, absorbing some of that overwatch to get into nice position because you can't overwatch them. And yeah, this was my flavor of the week. I looked around. I did find some other ones. If you want me to put them in Discord, just give me a shout out. I'll show you on Discord. But this was the one that I had to settle on, and I'm not mad about it. So we'll go quickly into his list so it doesn't go too long. His matchups, just so you guys can see, he had a great run with what people would consider a flavorful list. So he had first matchup with Sisters. He got Morgan Fall. He got a bunch of the name characters with Junith. Junith is like in this little mount vehicle that shoots and stuff. Sisters of Battle. You understand? Exorcist is actually an excellent gun platform as a whole, guys. Don't hate on the Exorcist. And then we got the Paragon Warsuits. The Paragon Warsuits, I'm not in, make do with what you got. Sisters aren't really meta right now. And then a Night Crusader. How'd you like this guy, David? Oh, this is, I thought you were looking at, but this one, I don't remember what I was looking at this one as a whole, but it went over my head. I forgot off the top of my head. It's all right, but I can see why Sisters tech into a Knight, right, guys? They're not doing that great in the meta, but they did what they did. Adams put up 100 points against that list. So you would think that Knight might pop the kill rigs. It didn't. They're not good enough. Then his number 2 matchups, T-Sons. So this was a little less meta list. As you can see, it's a bunch of Terminator sorcerers, right? Sorry, guys, I'm almost hiccups right there. Gotta hold it in. Then we got only 2 units of Rubric Marines, followed by 2 Rhinos. And then the real twister on this, my boy didn't bring 1 big unit, not 2 big units, but 3. 3 units of Terminators.
This is a straight up 9th edition.
I was waiting for David to see this one. He hadn't seen this one yet. And then Flamers. David does own the T-Sun army, but he owned it meta now. It's multiple editions. He's not chasing no meta. So yeah, that's hilarious. So I just wanted to show that. Honestly, guys, that's not playing the mission too well. And as you can kill them as you can, right? Like I said, Orks you're gonna throw grenades on everybody, you're gonna tank shock everybody, you put bomb squigs into everybody. And eventually that does whittle down these units, and then just mass volume of punches. You'll deal with even Terminator units, and you'll still play the mission. So he ended up putting 100 points into that list as well. Yeah. Now his third matchup. So his third matchup was, of course, Eldar. So when you get 2 back-to-back 100s, you know you're going to run into one of the meta bullies, which is most likely Eldar. So of course, right off the bat, you see again the Incarn, the Eltarch. This guy is the same guy that ended up winning the event. Oh, no. Did he win the... Let me make sure I say the right name. No, this guy got 3rd, and he ran a Siriani. That's what it was. He was the best scoring Eldar player. That's what I meant to say. Excuse me. But he was very similar to the other list we looked at from another GT, right? So that's why I almost got it confused. But this guy's the one with 2 Warp Fighters, 2 Wind Riders. He went for 2 of things. 2 Fire Prisms, 2 D Cannon support weapons, and then the Wraith Knight. Okay, so we looked at this list. It has good firepower, and that's something that can actually mess up his list, which is what it did. So he only got 56 points into this Eldar list. The kill rigs are not as durable as some of the other units we've seen. They're not hiding as well as, Squig Hogboy unit to place and stage. So kill rigs got annihilated, and there wasn't a lot of stuff after that, but it's okay. To lose to a broken meta army doesn't mean anything bad about you. Now we go straight into his 4th matchup, which was Tyranids. So we got Old One-Eye. I do like my Old One-Eye too. You got the Hive Tyrant, the Nero Tyrant, just for more Synapse, Barb Gaunts, Venom Thropes, Ripper Swarms, 1 unit of Carnifex, and then you got Maleceptor, Psychophage, Screamer Killer, Tyrannofex. So this also isn't an ideal Tyranid meta list. It does have some very good units. Tyrannofexes are nothing to stick your nose up at. The Old One-Eye with the Carnifexes is a pretty good combo. I'm not sure if I would run it, but it's a pretty good combo. For fun, I would, but no. The Psychophages, not into them personally, but if you're going to run into T-Suns, you might really like that. So maybe he's seen 30 Terminators and he's like, I'm going to snipe that guy. I don't know what he was doing. This list is not the most meta, but it's okay. He still did excellent and got 74 points. And his final matchup was against the one, the only T-Suns. So he still got his T-Sun fix again. Doing well. You kind of end up doing that, right? So, of course, this is getting a little bit more meta, guys. You got the guys on disc. You got the Infernal Master. You still got Magnus. You got the Sorcerers on foot. You have multiple units of Rubric Marines on foot. The 6 dudes on foot. 1 Mutalist Vortex Beast, the Zangors, and the Changelings. So this was a still very meta list, right? And our boys still put up 100 points on it. 100 points with 2 kill rigs. What's up, guys? What's up? I know you're out there thinking kill rigs suck. What's up? Say it to me. Say it to Adam Wilmarth. Whoa! That's what I like to see. That's like, this is like 80% or more % of the reason why I started the channel, is because this is how orcs do. We play how we want. We have a deep codex. We have a vast variety of different players that are like, what? What's the meta? I don't care. I'm going to run what I like to run. We literally had someone in chat just saying, I want to run it like I did last edition. I want to bring it back to what we used to do. I hope you appreciated that list, because I did it for guys like you. That's literally why I went and found this list. Kill rigs had not made a presence anywhere in the meta at all. No one's talking about them. No one thought they were real. Every tier list that comes out puts them lower and lower on the tier list video. I'm sticking to where I put them. Well, I'll drop them maybe once to see, but still, when a model can play every phase of the game, mind you, it's moving, which is transporting, moving phase. It's shooting, because it auto hits with las cannons, shooting, and it has little other guns. It's doing mortal wounds when it charges, because it has great strength and it capability to do tank shock. It fights, and before that, in the command phase, it can buff a unit to give them lethal hits. Come on, guys. Don't sniff at your kill rigs, all right? I know the meta and other people you watch might tell you, oh, man, don't play your kill rig. Well, luckily, Adam Wilmarth doesn't watch any of those guys and said, I don't care. Got 5th place at the GT, only dropping 1 game, all right? And that's what we care about as a whole in our WAAAGH here at this channel. I don't care what people are trying to run out there and say, if this is the meta, this is what you got to do. This is mathematically the best. This is what everybody's running. It does. Guys, play what you want to play. Get enough reps in, enough games in. Pay attention to your meta. Don't start bringing something random like all boys on foot. You know, like, oh, yeah, this is what I want. At some point, you do have to at least be aware of how to play the game. But don't start shelving models because someone told you to. Play them, put them on the field, try to put a little bit of what's meta in with them, right? Don't just leave them out the skew. You see the guy brought a Stompa, but he didn't go like, oh, I'm just going to bring boys on foot now only. Oh, I'm just going to bring whatever I want. No. He said, I'm going to now go to bring some Squig boys. I'm still going to bring my Beast boys. You know, he's still stuck into what was reliable. And that's what you want to do. You want to take some things that are reliable that you learned from maybe these streams, that you learned from some of the other videos, that you learned from Discord or talking to other players from other channels. You take what you know is being prevalently used. You take out whatever you don't feel like is your flavor of WAAAGH. Add what you want to do, build it up, and you come up with your own meta. Because we showed you several lists that are all different. We started with the truck list, went into an 18 squig list, we went into a Stompa list, and then we went into a kill rig list. Come on, guys. And then I had another list that I could show you that has the Snickra and WAAAGH truck. What's up? Okay? This is how we play the game. This is how orcs have always played Warhammer. Always. Since I started. You play how you want. You crump. We don't care. Just like we don't care about tactics in the lore. Just like we don't care about what beakies are bringing or how much firepower they're fixed positions. We come in, we crump, and we play the game good old-fashioned 40K. We care about movement. We care about good charges, good pile-ins, consolidations, playing the primary, and get into the secondaries. Everybody else wants to do their fancy things that are broken. That's fine. When you play the core way of the game, when you learn the basics of the game, you will be an optimal orc player at every stage of the game, at every stage of gameplay, whether it's casual, whether it's competitive. If you maximize your movement, if you maximize utilizing every model you have on the field, because you're going to have more than everybody else for the most part, using 85-point orc boy to put grenades into someone, using Squig boys to put their bomb squigs and the grenades into someone, using your 50-point truck to punch people or to hold up units or to stand on 2 different objectives. When you pay attention to playing to play the mission and not the meta, that's how you win as an orc player. That's literally what we just went over today. There's no denying that, because trucks can't be denied. The Stompa is proving to be the real deal. The pigs go big in our codex, and the meta is wide open, especially when Eldar get crumped down. The meta cannot predict us. No one sees us coming. No one knows exactly what we're doing. They're not even bringing stuff to counter us. If you're an orc player, take whatever you want, get some practice games in, and get in an RTT, or just play at a, a progression, I forgot what it's called, like escalation league. right? Escalation League's even just as good for that, because throughout the week as you're playing, I don't really like that unit. Maybe I need more transports. Maybe I want to add a kill rig. But don't be lost. Don't be stuck. Don't think you're stuck to 18 Squig boys. You got to go buy a bunch. Don't think you got to go buy a bunch of trucks. Just know what's good and add that, incorporate into that to your list. So let's go over chats real quick before we button up for the day.
All right, just 2 more chats, both from Joel Atkins. He says, "Wow, bosses, what's up, you gits?"
Yeah, what's up? The meta is up. The green tide is up. The win rate is up, and the meta for the Orks is wide open. No one can tell us what to do, because we do what we want to, because that's what war bosses are like, right?
And he chimes in with, "I'm having fun running 18 war bikes and a can mount."
Oh, yeah. Okay, I love the killer cans, really. Minus, you get this 3 strength, you get a nice toughness with the good armor save, which is something we're kind of missing. You get the shooting from all the rockets, and then the bikers are just, and depending on the meta, of course, but bikers are making a splash all throughout the edition. You got people taking them with the war trike. You got people trying to bring them with the war boss, the auto advancing 6s, the additional AP when you shoot, the ability to fall back and charge, the weird toughness, the bladed wounds. It's just great. So I'm glad you're having fun with stuff that people aren't throwing to the top of the meta, because they're just excellent as a whole.
Artemis Steve, getting a game in this weekend again? Oh, he's asking a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, hopefully a lot of you guys are getting games in. I know I will be dealing with some blue beakies and trying to get a little closer to preparing for the RTTs that I'll be attending while still keeping track of the meta. So like I said, guys, we did get a computer. We're going to be getting upgrades. Our lives are going to get better, more interactive, and, you know, possibly longer on Fridays as well. And we're glad you're sticking around and giving us a shot anyways. Is there anything else David want to talk about? No? And all you guys, you won't see David here for a little bit or hear his beautiful voice, because he's going on a work trip to Italy for a month. So wish him the best, and he'll help me from far away. But if you see me messing up as a mech, you know why. Because really, I'm just a hard boy. So is that okay?
Artemis Steve says he doesn't get to play a lot of games. You're all awesome, because we're sharing our information, our feedback for him.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I know how it is, dude. There was a little time period we didn't get a lot of games in. You know, some of us are privileged to be in places where they're very active, and some of us are just people who love the hobby. So make sure you're in the Discord talking to us, incorporating, showing us whatever you hobby on, because when the day comes, when your games come up and you're ready to play, it's always good to have a fully painted army. Gives you a lot of pride on the table no matter what happens.
And some love from Joan Artemis. Thank you. Yes, I'll enjoy the trip. I'm very excited. Don't worry, I'll still be supporting the WAAAGH from over there.
Yep.
I'll be doing whatever I can.
Because he's a true mech boy. I'm just a hard boy. Sorry. It is what it is.
You're the war boss.
I'm the war boss. But with that in mind, being a hard boy and all, don't cross the wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa.